Hi, thank you again for welcoming us into your home and tuning into WHCC.net. This is the final statement or the final episode of our series that was on Diluted Gospel. The question was, what do you see that dilutes the gospel? And this is the statement that one of our friends sent in to us that they saw that dilutes the gospel was grace without truth. Now think about that, grace without truth. Let me give you a scripture. This is a scripture a lot of us know. It's in the book of John, the first chapter of the book of John, verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen His glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Look at that last phrase. We know the Word, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We know that very well. But what about the last of that verse? The last of that verse says, glory as from the only Son from the Father, full of grace and full of truth. Think about that. Jesus was full of grace and full of truth. So we need to be grace people and we need to be truth people. So this statement was, what waters down the gospel is a lot of grace without a lot of truth. So we need to be both, not half grace and half truth. Not grace on Monday and then all truth on Tuesday. All grace and all truth all of the time. Seeing as how Jesus came from the Father, full of grace and full of truth, I believe that we should be 100% in both directions. So I got to thinking about this morning. I was kind of reviewing these questions and I jotted a few things down. Think about this, grace people. Grace people are pleasant. They're great to be around. They never ruffle your feathers. They don't really cause any problems. They cut you a whole lot of slack. Grace people are real easygoing. They just kind of accept you for who you are. They don't really make demands on you. They're always welcoming. But without truth, grace really isn't grace. It's just being accepting, and it's just being nice. And then there's the truth people. Oh boy, truth people are always easy to admire. They have strong convictions and strong principles. They believe in right and wrong. They're black and white. They set standards. They speak out against injustice. They speak out against oppression. They speak out against evil. They're usually very articulate and very well spoken. But without grace, telling the truth can become just an excuse for being belligerent. If you're a grace person, you're more concerned about being loved. If you're a truth person, you're more concerned about being right, even if that means you're not being loved. Both have their dangers. Look, something's wrong if everyone hates you, and something's equally as wrong if everyone loves you. Jesus was all grace. He welcomed sinners. He ate with tax collectors. He had compassion on the crowds when they were hungry and they were far from home. He had compassion and He healed the lepers. He welcomed little children and had them come sit on His lap. He was all grace. But Jesus was also all truth. He condemned many of the religious leaders of the day for being liars and hypocrites. He talked about hell more than He talked about heaven. He called all of those who would be His disciples to take up their cross and follow Him daily. He prophesied judgment on Israel for their unrepentant hearts. He obeyed the laws, yet He set standards and demanded everything from His followers, even that they would lay their own life down for Him. Jesus came from the Father, full of grace and truth. All grace, all truth, all the time. We desperately need grace in our lives. We need to hear from Jesus, "Come, all you who are heavily burdened and laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. We need to know that God doesn't expect us to clean up our act before we come to Him. And we desperately need the truth in our lives too. John 8:32 says, "The truth shall set you free." We need to hear that from Jesus. We need to hear from Jesus what this saying means. Listen, this John chapter 8, verse 36. "I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. But if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." We need someone as gracious as Jesus to tell us the truth. And sometimes the truth is, you're not okay. See, a lot of times we don't need to push away those feelings of guilt that weigh us down. Sometimes we need to know you're guilty. Jesus would say that. Anyone who tells you otherwise is not telling you the truth. And because they won't tell you the truth, you won't experience the grace you need. So with truth comes grace. With grace comes truth. So we need truth, we need grace. The truth is, friend, we need Jesus. Thank you so much. God bless you.